Many do not know that glyphosate is not only used as a weed killer on GMO crops and in landscaping, but also as a drying agent on crops just before harvest to quicken the harvesting process. 280 million pounds of glyphosate are used every year on crops, 20 million as a weed killer on our parks and playgrounds. Glyphosate does not entirely wash, dry, or cook off. It absorbs in. Residues remain on the food and we consume them. Thousands of food tests, both of GMO, non-GMO, and non-organic crops, have been found to be positive for glyphosate, both at low and very high levels. The fact that their glyphosate residue levels are below the EPA limits may be true, but what are the levels of glyphosate allowed by the EPA, and are they actually safe? Wheat, 30 parts per million. That's 30,000 parts per billion of glyphosate residues. Mint, 200 parts per million, or 200,000 parts per billion. Sugar, 1 part per million, or 1,000 parts per billion. No wonder why the Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies had such high levels of glyphosate. These allowable levels are thousands of times higher than the 0.1 parts per billion that Dr. Don Huber, a 60-year plant pathologist, has stated should be avoided. Why should we avoid consuming even low levels of glyphosate? According to scientist Dr. Michael Antonou, 4 nanograms per kilogram of body weight, 4 parts per billion, ultra-low levels, caused liver disease in animals. Dr. Gilles-Éric Seralini, a French scientist, states that 0.1 parts per billion of exposure of glyphosate causes sex hormone changes and liver and kidney damage in animal studies. And Suripran Tongprangasang showed that 1 part per trillion of glyphosate exposure contributes to the growth of lumen B breast cancer cells in vitro. According to our calculations, supported by Michael Hansen of Consumer Report, the EPA allowable levels could mean that a child could be consuming up to 1,100 parts per billion of glyphosate in a day eating the standard American diet. But doesn't the dose make the poison? What if a child doesn't consume that much in a day? And it's just a little bit? Isn't that okay? Glyphosate is an endocrine disruptor, which means even tiny amounts, parts per billion, disrupt hormone production and function. It causes imbalances that can lead to reproductive damage, birth defects, sperm damage, and increased risk of premature births, miscarriage, and mental illness. Glyphosate also causes hormone disruption in the gut. Along with glyphosate's antimicrobial properties, it causes gut dysbiosis. Low levels of glyphosate are harmful to the endocrine system, liver, kidney, and gut. Glyphosate is also a chelator, meaning it grabs onto and makes unavailable the vital nutrients of any living thing it touches. The vital nutrients in our food are essential for our country's farming legacy. Vital nutrients in our food are also what make our immune system strong, our brains, our hearts, our bodies function, and what makes America healthy again. Low levels of glyphosate are also harmful to our crops and soil. According to Michael McNeil of Ag Advisory, glyphosate increases mycotoxins in the crops, threatening crop viability and human consumers. In addition, he states that just 1/40th of the normal application of glyphosate, meaning drift levels, reduce the nutrient uptake of magnesium, iron, and zinc into the root by 20 to 85%, and the same low level reduced the nutrient uptake into the shoot, the part that we eat, by 80 to 95%. This means with only drift level of exposure, American farmers are growing junk food. Severely nutrient-deficient food is what's making America sick again. Nutrient-deficient food is also a homeland security issue. 60% of our children have a chronic disease. 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women are expected to get cancer. 1 in 5 Americans have mental health issues. 93% of school lunches and 100% of fast food and Girl Scout cookies were positive for glyphosate. 77% of young American adults do not meet the physical or mental health requirements to get into the military. Nutrient-deficient food means a weakened immune system, sicker Americans, higher healthcare costs, higher rates of obesity because Americans are starving for nutrients so they eat more, diabetes, mental health issues, and a weakened military. Just a little bit of glyphosate on our crops means a lot of nutrient deficiency and health issues from the harmful effects of glyphosate. Regenerative organic farmers use cover crops, swathing, crimpers, and non-toxic weed killers. They use non-toxic pest deterrents to farm with higher profits, increasingly improved soil nutrients, greater water retention, and better carbon sequestration. The EU has banned the use of glyphosate as a drying agent. 60 countries around the world ban or restrict the use of glyphosate. It's time for America to protect its citizens at least as much as Europe does. It's time to ban the use of glyphosate and other harmful agrochemicals as drying agents immediately, and go one step further to prevent drift exposure and nutrient deficiency by banning the use of glyphosate as a weed killer as well. Show your support for a safer, non-toxic, and nutrient-dense food supply, especially for our schools, by signing this petition to the President and the EPA today.